CIA agent John is watching some suspicious person from the roof of a building. Next to him is senior CIA agent Ben, who has been working for the agency for years and is friends with John. It turns out the two are keeping tabs on Russian secret agent Eugene. Finally, Ben realizes he just has to approach and talk to the object of their surveillance. Upon seeing the agent, Yevgeny smiles broadly, states that he is now on vacation, and advises his CIA colleague to relax. This doesn't convince Ben, who promises to keep an eye on the Russian agent. A few days later in the evening, Ben goes to a cafe with his wife Farah to celebrate another of their wedding anniversaries. The couple has an adult son, Nick, who lives in another city. Farah also works in a CIA office where she handles classified data. The couple are seated on a summer terrace next to a cafe, and Farah soon enters the building as she needs to use the restroom, at which point a powerful explosion goes off. 6 months pass. Farah is killed in the terrible explosion in the cafe, while Ben survived, and after extensive treatment he is back to work. The man is still grieving for his dead wife, constantly visits her grave in the cemetery, and by all means is going to find those responsible for her death. At a meeting with the CIA leadership, Ben insists on continuing the investigation into the explosion, but his superiors are going to close the case, convinced that it was just a domestic gas explosion. Angry Ben runs out of the office, where he meets the director of the CIA, who sympathizes with the widower, but advises him to accept his loss and start a new life. The CIA leadership closes the case about the explosion in the cafe after all, so Ben decides to conduct his own investigation. First of all, he goes to his hacker friend Desmond, who also works in the CIA. The two men review the video of the explosion from the cafe several times, and finally notice a suspicious man at one of the tables. Ben immediately remembers that he once saw this mysterious stranger near Yevgeny, which means that the Russian secret services are most likely involved in his wife's death. Ben returns home, wondering how he can find his way back to Eugene. There, memories of his dead wife come flooding back to the man. The agent recalls how Farah once gave him an unusual necklace and asked him never to take it off, promising that the jewelry would bring her husband good luck. The next day, Ben meets John, with whom they have been friends for a long time, at a cafe. Ben tells his friend about his suspicions about the Russian secret services and asks John to help him, as he needs to get to Yevgeny at any cost. John promises his friend support, and the two agree to meet later. Ben then meets Farah's best friend named Hitchens and questions the woman about his dead wife. Hitchens unexpectedly reveals that Farah had a secret bank account for a rather large sum of money, whereupon she gives the man the documents and passwords so that he can retrieve all of that money from the bank. A few days later, Ben discovers that Eugene is at the casino. Ben goes there and blithely accuses the Russian agent of blowing up the cafe. Eugene is furious at such insolence and orders his men to teach the American a lesson. Ben resists stubbornly and for some time fights off his opponents, but they take him by numbers. At the same time, Nick, Ben's son, is having dinner with his girlfriend. Suddenly, several CIA agents appear, saying that they were sent by Ben, and the guy urgently needs to go with them for his own safety. Nick is surprised, as his father usually calls him personally, but realizing the urgency of what is happening, agrees to get into the car with the agents. At this time, Eugene and his handmaidens tie Ben up and bring him to their secret hideout. Suddenly, Eugene orders his men to release the prisoner and asks why he blames him for his wife's death. Ben pulls out a flash drive with a video of the explosion from the cafe and shows the man who works for Eugene in the footage. The Russian agent frowns, saying that the man no longer works for them, as he got greedy for big money and became a mercenary. Suddenly, several armed men burst into the building and open fire. In the ensuing firefight, several fighters from both sides are killed, and Ben manages to escape and contact John by phone. John soon arrives on the scene and picks Ben up in his car. Ben is surprised that his friend got to him so quickly, and John says that it was a fluke that he was nearby. Ben also asks his buddy to keep an eye on Nick, as his son seems to be in danger as well. John replies that he's already thought of that and has sent some agents to the boy. Soon John brings his friend to a small ship, promising that he will be completely safe here. At this time, 3 CIA agents bring Nick into the building. The boy states that he wants to talk to his father, but the agents don't listen to him and roughly push him inside. On the ship, John asks Ben in between if Farah gave him anything before she died. Ben doesn't like what's going on and replies that it's his own business. John then takes his friend into the hold, where he is surprised to see several armed men who look like seasoned mercenaries. It turns out that these mercenaries work for John, and they are the ones who attacked Eugene's hideout. The mercenaries tie Ben to a chair and begin to torture him with electric shocks, forcing him to confess what Farah gave him before she died. To speed up the interrogation process, John leaves, going to pick up and bring back Nick, who is being held captive by his men, but the mercenaries meanwhile continue to torture Ben. To provoke the agent, Heron, the leader of the mercenaries, states with a malicious grin that he was the one who set off the explosion at the cafe and killed Farah. Moreover, they were ordered to do it by some powerful people from the CIA. Ben is shocked. He can't believe what he has heard, but he doesn't have time to find out the details as a masked stranger suddenly bursts into the hold of the ship. The stranger shoots several mercenaries and frees Ben. Under the mask is a mysterious woman named Christine, with whom Ben fights his way to the exit. Sharon attacks Ben, but the agent manages to overpower the mercenary leader and push him into the sea. Ben and Christine get into a small boat and quickly sail away from the ship before more mercenaries arrive. Christina brings Ben to a secret hideout where she reveals that she was a close friend and partner of Farah's. The woman adds that the unusual necklace Farah gave her husband shortly before her death is actually the key to a secret room where very important information is kept. As it turns out, Farah and Christina got their hands on top-secret data about the CIA director's corruption schemes, which they were going to make public. However, the enemies found out about it and managed to kill Farah, and now they dream to get to the compromise to destroy it. After reaching the secret room, Ben uses the necklace to open it, and inside they find a laptop that holds the secret information Christina was talking about. Ben can't believe his eyes when he learns of the CIA director's grand corruption schemes and bribes. After learning the truth, Ben calls John and offers to trade the laptop with the dirt on his son, threatening to release all this classified information to the press if he refuses. John agrees, and the two agree to meet at the agreed place. Ben realizes perfectly well that John will deceive and betray him again. Therefore, the agent asks Christina to help him, and he calls Desmond, gives him all the dirt on the CIA director, and asks him to publish it in the press if something happens to him. Almost reaching the meeting place, Ben drops Christina off, knowing full well that an ambush awaits them ahead. Finally meeting up with John, Ben sees that he is accompanied by several armed mercenaries. John releases Nick, after which Ben tells his son to get into his car, and he hands the laptop with the data to the traitor. At that moment, Christine starts shooting the mercenaries with a sniper rifle. Ben takes advantage of the confusion of the enemies, grabs the laptop, gets into the car, and presses the gas. Survivors John and Heron rush in pursuit. Ben causes the car to hit an obstacle and flip over, killing Heron, but John manages to jump out of the car and tries to escape. Convinced that Heron is dead, Ben catches up with John and challenges him to a one-on-one duel. The traitor agrees and bravely throws himself into the fight, but Ben manages to overpower his opponent and knock him out. Ben waits for the other CIA agents to arrive and tells them to take the traitor John into custody. Ben then calls someone and asks for help in exposing the CIA director, as he himself still fears an assassination attempt on himself and his son. A couple of days later, when the CIA director is meeting with high-ranking government officials, Eugene suddenly bursts into the office to reveal dirt on the CIA director and expose him in the face of everyone gathered. The CIA director tries to exonerate himself, but Interpol arrests him for the numerous crimes he has committed and sends the man to prison. Having finally completed his mission, Ben sadly remembers his wife, who at the cost of her life helped to restore justice and put the corrupt official behind bars. And that's where the movie ends.